Daily Trust News Center. This is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, 4 ex-governors made President Tinubu's ministerial list as he seeks Senate's approval. Calls for end to military takeover as Nigerian army pledges allegiance to coup plotters. Zamfara State Governor honors pilgrim who returned missing $80,000. And on the foreign scene, Russia President Putin promises African leaders free grain despite Western sanctions. Hello and welcome to the News Hour on Trust TV. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thanks for joining. And now the news in details. President Bola Tinubu on Thursday submitted list of his minister nominees to Senate for approval. Chief of Staff and immediate past Speaker of the House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila personally delivered the names of 28 ministerial nominees to the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman reports that the list consisting of technocrats, former governors, lawmakers is submitted in line with requirement of Section 147, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended.
Section 147, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended requires the President to forward a list of ministerial nominees to the Senate within 60 days of his inauguration. It is in line with this constitutional provision. The Senate, after a closed-door session, allowed former Speaker of the House of Representatives, now Chief of Staff to the President Femi Gbajabiamila, to appear before it and submit the list.
Requests for confirmation of ministerial nominees. In compliance with the provisions of Section 147, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, I am pleased to forward to the Senate for confirmation the underlisted 28 ministerial nominees.
Senate President Godswill Akpabio read the list, which include the names of immediate past governors of Kaduna, Jigawa, Rivers, Ebonyi states, and 24 others as minister nominees.
1. Abubakar Momo. 2. Ambassador Yusuf Maitama Chuka, CON. 3. Architect Ahmad Dangiwa.
He has fulfilled that requirement of the Constitution by submitting 28 names today. As his letter stated and was read on the floor of the Senate, the remainder names, not sure how many, probably about 12, maybe 13, will be forwarded to the Senate in the coming days.
The chamber also deliberated on other bills and motions, including that on the need to intervene in the ongoing resident doctor strike. The lawmakers call on the federal government to engage with the striking doctors with a view to stopping the industrial action, just as it called on the health personnel to suspend the strike on humanitarian ground. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now joining us via Zoom to discuss the ministerial list is Jide Ojo, a public affairs analyst, and also Diro Onifade, spokesman for the Labour Party Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Let me start with you, Mr. Jide Ojo. We have 4 ex-governors and just 4 women. States like Kano and Lagos are conspicuously missing. Does this fall short of your expectation?
Well, first and foremost, we heaved a sigh of relief that after about 58 days, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has finally submitted a list of 28 nominees made up of 4 governors, former governors, 7 women, 2 serving members of the National Assembly, 1 from House of Reps and 1 from Senate, And of course, we know that the Section 42A of the altered 1999 Constitution has said that he needs to submit the list of nominees 60 days after inauguration. So he has only kept the law halfway, and one will hope maybe by tomorrow or at the very latest by Saturday, the remainder of the list will be, because Section 147 sub 3 of the Constitution, 1999 Constitution, has said that there shall be at least one member of the cabinet from each of the 36 states and maybe FCT. So he has not fully complied with that provision, and neither has he fully complied with the provision that said within 60 days of inauguration, his nominees should be listed. However, I felt a bit disappointed that we have to wait this long for this partial list to be nominated, because this has given room to widespread fake news over the past 2 weeks. Almost every day, you have people speculating who is on the list, who is not on the list. In fact, many of the newspapers this morning said the list has been received by the president of the Senate as at yesterday night. Some said it has been with them since last weekend. But we saw Femi Gbajabiamila walking into the Senate chamber and handing over the list of 28 members to the president of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio. Now, it's a different thing when you now look at whether this list is made up of technocrats or politicians. And my answer to that is that one individual can wear several caps. You can be a technocrat and still be a politician. In fact, Section 147, subsection 5 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria made it mandatory for you to be a politician if you want to be a cabinet member.
All right.
Because it says that you have to satisfy condition that is similar to that an aspirant to House of Representatives.
Okay,
when you look at those conditions, you have to be sponsored by a political party and be a member of a party.
Okay. Mr. Jide, two names as suspected by Nigerians have appeared in this list: the former governor of Kaduna State and the former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. Specifically for Governor of Nyesom Wike, who remains a card-carrying member of the PDP. At the end of the day, divided loyalty seemed to have paid off, isn't it?
Of course, it has paid off, but it's not the first time this is happening. I recall that under Obasanjo, he did invite the former Alliance for Democracy chairman, Abdul Kadri, at that point in time, in 2003, I guess, to be a member of his cabinet. We have also seen Ume Ezeoke nominating someone to be in the cabinet of Obasanjo about that time in 2003. So it's not unusual to invite members of the opposition party to be member of a cabinet of the ruling party. They call it Government of National Unity. And as you have rightly pointed out, maybe disloyalty has paid off for Nyesom Wike, because he made it very clear that he wasn't going to campaign for Atiku Abubakar, which is the presidential candidate of his party.
Okay.
But it does happen, and for him, it has worked. We hope that will not encourage more people to engage in anti-party activities.
All right, now let me go to Diro Onifade now. Mr. Diro, there's been a lot of talk, about forming a unity government after the elections. However, this list doesn't appear to represent that. Will your party be willing to accept any offer by this government to be a part of it?
Well, it's that's, for us, that's not even a question at all. I mean, we are in court. We do not believe that this government is in power legitimately. And how do you want to jump on a structure built on nothing. We do not believe in the legitimacy of this government. So the question of joining them or whatever, that doesn't even arise at all.
But have there been any offer by the current administration? With the spokespersons and aides of the President Bola Tinubu have constantly said that the president is willing to extend an olive branch to members of your party and any other opposition. But so far, have there been any offer?
Those people you're talking about, they say all manner of things, including things that are not true. So don't take their word for it. If they have been saying this, they have been saying that, we hardly believe anything they say, because they say all kinds of things that end up not being true.
Okay, so with this list, are you expecting anything different, from the current administration? I mean, be it as it may, you are in court, but then the President Bola Tinubu has been declared by INEC. So do you expect anything different from the government?
Well, look, oh God, when you look at this, when you look at this list, the way that we are looking at it, it's already looking too large. We are talking of a dispensation where we need to cut the cost of governance. Looking at this now, you're already seeing two names occurring per state, in some states, which is to say that we are expecting quite a large cabinet. Because if you have two names now, say from the North Central and maybe from the Northwest, it presupposes that there are still going to be additional names from other geopolitical zones. We are talking about a dispensation where we want to cut the cost of governance. Now you are going to have at least 42 cabinet members doing what? In Buhari's administration, when they were leaving, Festus Keyamo, who was a minister of state, who happens to be a lawyer, says the position of minister of state is unconstitutional. So how are they going to juggle the issue of constitutionality of minister of state if they have to now keep appointing multiple ministers from states, when actually they should find a creative means of cutting these things down? The people of Nigeria, they are bleeding. They are paying too much to maintain the federal government of Nigeria. Now you're looking at this. You see Bauchi, 2 names, Katsina, 2 names, and so on and so forth, which is to say that you will find multiple names in other geopolitical zones. The cabinet is going to be large. And what are we going to be doing with that unwieldy list?
All right. Well, thank you so much, Diro Onifade and also Jide Ojo, both Jide Ojo, public affairs analyst, and also the spokesman for the Labour Party presidential candidate, Diro Onifade. Thank you. We appreciate you joining us on the News Hour. Now, moving on, Jigawa State Governor Umar Namadi has said that the ministerial list submitted by President Tinubu to the Senate for approval enjoyed blessing of governors of the ruling APC. Speaking in an exclusive interview with Clement Oloyede in Dutse, Governor Namadi has said that contrary to the belief that the state governors have no impute in the list, President Bola Tinubu has consulted the governors on the ministerial nominees. Namadi said that residents of Jigawa should also expect prudent and judicious utilization of resources from his government as he plans to uplift the lives of the people.
You see, the problem is the calculator people look at this perceiving what calculators do. The calculator is to ensure that the judicious use of resources, that value for money, that every kobo is accounted for. And as much as possible, like I said, this government will try as much as possible to do what is right for the people. No matter what, the money is meant to be spent and for the benefit of people. There's no reason why you keep the money. And even in the last, it's not that the money has been kept. No, but it is also to be voted. And that is why, because throughout the last 8 years, on the 25th of every month, this Gassel will pay salary. And on the 10th of the following month, we pay pension. And this process is still continuing. Today, 25th, we have paid salary already. We pay salary today. 25th, we have paid salary. And you know the fact is not here, so but we still pay the salary. So you see, the issue is planning. And the issue is planning for the betterment of the people. So the calculator is not a negative thing, it's something that is good, and that is we have seen the benefit of the calculator, and that's why we are determined to ensure that we have continued the calculator policy.
Over now to Niger, where the army has declared allegiance to the defense and security forces that overthrew President Mohamed Bazoum, according to a statement signed by Abdou Sidiko Issa, the army chief of staff. Thursday's statement posted on social media said that the decision was necessary to avoid a deadly confrontation between the various forces. Members of the Presidential Guard had detained Bazoum inside his palace in the capital Niamey early on Wednesday. In a broadcast later on national television, Colonel Major Amadou Abdurrahman, spokesperson for a group calling itself the National Council for the Safeguarding of the Country, said that the defense and security forces have decided to put an end to the regime you are familiar with, quote and unquote. The soldier said that the country's borders have been closed and a nationwide curfew was in place. All institutions of the country were also suspended, Abdurrahman added. The junta also announced that all activities by political parties in Niger have been suspended until further notice. Meanwhile, hundreds of people on Thursday responded to a call from the military junta in Niger's capital, Niamey, in support of the military, who announced they had seized power in a coup. Some waved Russian flags, echoing similar demonstrations held after coups in neighboring Mali and Burkina Faso. A day earlier, protesters had voiced support for President Mohamed Bazoum, and Bazoum defiantly declared Thursday that democracy would prevail. The country had been seen as the last major partner standing against extremism in a francophone region where anti-French sentiments had opened the way for the Russian private military group Wagner. Still in Niger, the Niger Republic has had 4 military coups since gaining independence from France in 1960 and numerous attempted takeovers, including against the ousted President Mohamed Bazoum. Now here is a timeline of coups in Niger Republic.
Niger Republic has had 4 military coups since gaining independence from France in 1960 and numerous attempted takeovers, including the one against the ousted President Mohamed Bazoum. It started on April 15, 1974. The first Nigerian coup, led by Lieutenant Colonel Sani Kochni, ended the 14-year rule of President Hamani Diori. His wife and a small number of guardsmen were killed at the presidential palace after dawn. Diori was imprisoned until 1984 and remained under house arrest. The second coup in 1996 ousted Niger Republic's first democratically elected president, Mahamani Usman, after nearly 3 years in power, and installed General Ibrahim Bade Mai Nasara as head of state. Prime Minister Hamma Amadou was arrested in the coup and several soldiers and presidential guards were killed in the fighting. Mai Nasara stayed in power until April 1999, when his regime was overthrown and he was assassinated in the 1999 Nigerian coup d'etat. Following the assassination of Mai Nasara and the installation of Dauda Malam Wanke as president on 11th of April, Wanke led a transitional government towards democratic elections, which produced Mamadou Tanja as president of Niger in December of 1999. Tanja was later ousted in 2010 Nigerian coup d'etat following a constitutional crisis in 2009 when he attempted to remain in office beyond the originally scheduled end of his term. By February of 2010, soldiers attacked the presidential palace in Niamey and captured President Mamadou Tanja, who was chairing a government meeting at the time. Later in the day, the Supreme Council for the Restoration of Democracy, headed by the Escandron Salu Jibo was announced on television. Jibo then appointed Mahmoudou Danda, who had been Minister of Communication during the transition that followed the 1999 coup, as Prime Minister on February 23rd. By 31st of March 2021, an attempted coup was launched and gunfire erupted in the streets of Niamey, the capital of Niger Republic, 2 days before the inauguration of President-elect Mohamed Bazoum. The coup attempt was staged by elements within the military and was attributed to an Air Force unit base in the area of Niamey Airport. The alleged leader of the plot was Captain Sani Saleh Gourouza, who was in charge of security at the unit's base. After the coup attempt was foiled, the perpetrators were arrested. On July 26, 2023, coup soldiers from Niger Republic's Presidential Guard detained President Mohamed Bazoum, while another group of soldiers announced his overthrow, closing the country's borders, suspending state institutions, and declaring a curfew while announcing the formation of a military junta. Entrances to government ministries were also blocked by Presidential Guard, and the coup was condemned by the World Bank, the African Union, the United Nations, the European Union, France, and the United States, which called for Bazoum's immediate release. Benin Republic's President Patrice Talon, who went to Niger on behalf of ECOWAS to negotiate, called the coup a military misbehavior, and Niger's governing political coalition denounced the coup as, quote, a suicidal and anti-republican madness.
Now, we will be taking some more stories still coming from Niger. A coup in Niger could have a negative impact on the United Nations withdrawing its decade-long peacekeeping operation in neighboring Mali. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric said on Thursday. The UN Security Council last month ended the mission in Mali after West African countries' military junta abruptly asked the 13,000-strong force to leave. Chad is the largest contributor to the mission with some 1,400 troops in Mali, but a coup in Niger on Wednesday could now make it difficult for them to return home. Still on Niger, the ECOWAS Community Citizens calls on the regional organization to address recurring military takeovers in the sub-region and restore democratic government in Niger Republic as part of rebuilding a strong and resilient ECOWAS. Musa Luka reports. I'll bring you that report later. Now we have Wing Commander Musa Salmanu, retired, who is a former UN expert on mission, joining us via Zoom for some more perspective on the situation in Niger. Thank you so much for joining us, Musa, on the News Hour tonight.
Thank you, Ivo. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, Musa, despite the initial resistance of President Mahmoud Bazoum in Niger, we've seen now that the army in the country have pledged their allegiance to the military coup. It seems like the doubt about who is in control in Niger has been cleared, isn't it?
Yes, and so unfortunately so. It's clear that the mutineers, if I call them that, or those who wanted to usurp power by force, have eventually succeeded. As it is now, they are in charge of the instruments of power, and they have started exercising it as they have suspended the constitution, suspended all institutions of government, and closed the borders, both air and land, into the and outside of the country, and imposing also a curfew in the city, in the capital. So effectively, they are in control, and there's no doubt about, for now, and that the coup will be said to have succeeded.
Yesterday, after the announcement, we saw some pockets of protests in Niger, some people who are standing by the president, but it appears that that can no longer be sustained, can it?
I think people are kind of in touch with the reality, kind of. As of yesterday, there was a mix-up. There was no clarity as to who was in charge, and there were double or multiple voices. That's the side of the government saying that this is a dangerous attempt by some elements of the armed forces, while the presidential guard saying they were in control. But as time went by and before late in the night, it was clear, or by the morning, early hours of the morning, it was clear that they have taken control. And the only hope at that time was the regular military, that it was being hoped that they will kind of be patriotic or will be loyal to the constitution. But they have also indicated that they are backing the coup plotters. So at that time, the situation on ground dictates what the protesters will do. Perhaps we have not seen the end of the protest. People are going to regroup. People are still trying to come to terms with what is reality on the ground. I'm sure they're going to reorganize, regroup, and relaunch their their protest against the coup plotters. So in the coming days, we're going to see series of these protests, both for and against the coup plotters.
Are you confident, with the ECOWAS role in bringing back stability to that country? The President Bola Tinubu, who is the chair of ECOWAS, have said no to coups on the continent. But it remains to be seen whether ECOWAS will be able to bring back civilian government in Niger, like we've seen, in Burkina Faso, in Mali, in Guinea. After the coups, there will be visits, there will be delegations, but then nothing else changes until, the military coup will just go on and on.
I think with the issue of ECOWAS, we are being optimistic that ECOWAS will be able to turn the tables, but we are also we're realists. I mean, the situation on the ground says otherwise, because if you could remember, just in the hours between the alleged coup and when it was eventually announced, the ECOWAS chair, and that's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, made it clear, categorically clear, that ECOWAS will not accept that. He sent a very strong delegation. He, in fact, indeed sent the president of Benin, like you just said, just to emphasize that ECOWAS would not accept it. But nevertheless, the coup plotters went ahead and they have taken over. And they are categorically clear that they call them external forces or external influences should stay clear of what they term as their own internal affairs. So ECOWAS has made so many resolutions. ECOWAS have made so many efforts at ensuring that such takeovers do not happen, and that when they happen, they do not succeed. But the reality on the ground, just like you have highlighted, is different. ECOWAS is not able to enforce its own agreements in terms of not backing coup plots or coup makers in the region. We have seen, like you highlighted, we've seen in the recent past, Mali, Burkina Faso, and the rest, and it keeps going. The list is just there. We didn't know of Niger was going to happen. We thought it has stopped, but then Niger is also happening, and despite the threats by ECOWAS, the coup plotters are still anyway decided to take over.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Wing Commander Musa Salamanu, retired former UN expert on mission, for joining us on the News Hour and sharing these perspectives. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, still staying with Niger, the ECOWAS Community Citizens calls on the regional organization to address recurring military takeovers in the sub-region and restore democratic government in Niger Republic as part of rebuilding a strong and resilient ECOWAS. Musa Luka tells us more.
Following the announcement of ouster of democratically elected government of Mohamed Bazoum Niger by Presidential Guard and consequent endorsement of the coup by the country's army, members of ECOWAS community citizens condemned the incident, noting that it is sad commentary for political developments in the West African region.
The military regime, there was corrupted regime, worse than the civilian regime. I think that where we have in this phase is to rethink our democratic system.
I am honored to be here to join my colleagues in the fight against three-term mandate in West Africa, and I am hereby condemning the coup that happened in Niger last night.
The president of Nantes, Ken Okwaha, said the West African sub-region is currently undergoing a real decline, therefore calling on West African leaders to make the core Vision 2050 a reality.
We wish to sadly note that after the wave of democratization of the 1990s that raised a lot of hope, West African region is currently undergoing a real decline. And it is also increasingly confronted with an erosion of individual and collective freedoms in a context of growing instability in relation to recurrent socio-political crises and violent extremism. We therefore make a solemn appeal to the entire West African community to make the core vision of 2050 a reality and to have a fully integrated community of people in a peaceful, prosperous region with strong institutions that respect fundamental freedoms and the rights of every citizen.
Director for Center for Democratic Development CDD, Professor Jibrin Ibrahim, appreciated ECOWAS President Bola Tinubu for actively condemning the military takeover in Niger.
We believe strongly that citizens of West Africa and our governments need to mount the barricades again to make a clear statement that never again will we as a people accept recurrent coup d'etat. Having had our discussions this morning, we want to say we are happy that the chairman of ECOWAS, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, yesterday came out very strongly against the coup d'etat, and that ECOWAS moved swiftly in appointing President Patrice Talon, the president of Benin, as the West African mediator.
The ECOWAS community citizens said ECOWAS must carry out reforms, including reforms of its additional protocol on democracy and good governance, where term limits must be a cornerstone. Musa Luka, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, away from that, Zamfara State Governor Dauda Lawal on Thursday honored the pilgrim who returned $80,000 to the owner during the last Hajj in Saudi Arabia. The pilgrim, Hajia Aishatu Nahuche, from Bungudu local government area of Zamfara State, found the $80,000, an equivalent of 64,240,000, and handed it over to the Zamfara Pilgrims Welfare Agency official for onward return to the owner. A statement by the spokesperson to the governor, Suleiman Idris, said that the governor honored the pilgrim in the company of all emirs of the state at the council chambers in the government house. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency responded to allegations of its operatives causing the death of 2 individuals during a raid in Idoro area of Mushi, in Lagos. Now, in an interview on Thursday, NDLEA's spokesperson Femi Babafemi said that the agency's operatives came under attack on Wednesday night when it raided Mushi to arrest a baron behind shipments of drugs from Ghana. He explained that the agency's operatives resorted to self-defense to escape the attack. Babafemi revealed that the suspected drug barons are Sahid Solola and Suleiman Shehu. He added that the agency arrested the suspect with drug shipments and vehicles. Justice Hamza Mwazu of the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja has dismissed a request filed by the Department of State Services seeking a 14-day extended detention order for the suspended Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele. The application was discreetly filed by the DSS legal team on Wednesday and came before the vacation judge Thursday. Justice Mwazu dismissed the application, citing it as an abuse of court process and lack of jurisdiction. The application came in the wake of Emefiele's rearrest by the DSS from the Federal High Court premises in Lagos, following his remand in a correctional center while awaiting the fulfillment of his bail conditions granted by Justice Nicholas Owebo. You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up shortly. Deplorable condition of road worries motorists. Details and more after the break. Welcome back. You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Now let's take a look at the top stories again. 4 ex-governors made President Tinubu's ministerial list as he seeks Senate's approval. Calls for end to military takeover as Nigerian army pledges allegiance to coup plotters. In other news, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has tendered some documents to Kebbi State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, exposing the consistency at which the State Deputy Governor, Umar Abdullahi, has been claiming to have graduated from Sultan Abubakar College, Sokoto, in all his political career. Although counsels to the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, had initially objected to the admission of the documents, they later decided to reserve further debate to the subsequent sittings of the tribunal. From Kebbi, Umar Afanda has the details.
This is the second time some major documents and witnesses challenging the authenticity of the deputy governor's claim to have completed his secondary school from Sultan Abubakar College, Sokoto, in 1979 was challenged at the tribunal. Last Friday, the 21st of this month, the current principal of Sultan Abubakar College, Sokoto, presented a bag of 10 documents challenging the claim of the deputy governor to have graduated from the school. The current process going on at the tribunal for now, according to a tribunal source, is legally referred to as pre-hearing, where physical evidences, documents or human, will be tendered by all contending parties to the tribunal, which has the right to admit or reject, depending on the success of cross-examination debate by contending counsels. Barrister Nora Bello, counsel to the petitioners, has given details of what transpired in court and its implication to their success as petitioners at the tribunal. the national chairman of Independent National Electoral Commission mandated Mr. Samuel Omale, who is a assistant director in the Department of Legal Drafting and Documentation, to appear before the tribunal in Kebbi State and submit those forms before the tribunal. And Mr. Samuel Omale appeared this morning before the tribunal and submit the certified true copy of these forms before the tribunal, of which the tribunal accepted and received those documents and marked them as exhibits before the tribunal. The importance of these documents to our case is to establish to the tribunal that Umar Abubakar Argungu has been claiming he has finished or graduated from Sultan Abubakar College, Argungu, in the year 1979. In the year 1979, and looking at those documents, particularly his forms of 2023 and that of 2015, it will be clearly seen that Umar Abubakar has been claiming to have finished from Sultan Abubakar College, Sokoto. And the reason why we presented these documents before the tribunal is for the tribunal to have a clear picture of what our petition contains and the allegations that are contained in our petition, which we are trying to establish that Umar Abubakar Argungu has not finished or has not graduated from Sultan Abubakar College, Sokoto.
However, Barrister Abdullahi Hayassan, one of the counsels to the respondents, governor, the deputy governor and the APC, said they were not disturbed at all by all the evidences against their clients at the tribunal.
They had a witness who came from INEC, who produced 2 documents, which they tendered. They also tendered the subpoena, which was issued against the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. And then they tendered from the back 2 other forms EC8A. The documents that were brought, nobody testified in respect of them. They just brought documents and tendered them. And we're not in any way feeling challenged. Well, we believe that the case that the petitioners have, in our humble estimation, is a very weak case.
It is expected that the Defense Counsel will, from Monday next week, begin presentation of their counter evidences against the petitioners. From Birnin Kebbi, the Kebbi State capital, Umar Afanda, Trust TV.
The leadership of the Southwest Zone D of the National Association of Nigerian Students has issued a 7-day ultimatum to the federal government to reverse the proposed hike in tuition fees of the tertiary institutions or a total blockade of all federal roads across the region. Coordinator of the union, Alao John, gave this warning in Ibadan during a chat with journalists where he described such purported moves by government as not well thought out. The students' body, while questioning the rationale behind the decision, called for increased funding for the university system if Nigerian youths were to achieve their full potentials. Restaurant operators in Katsina may opt out of the business due to low patronage the sector is experiencing following the high cost of food items in recent weeks. According to them, the purchasing power of most of their customers has been eroded following the rising standard of living. Abdullahi Ahmadi visited 2 popular restaurants in Katsina and sent in this report.
This is the worst time ever for these restaurant operators who say the struggle to remain in the business is making them run at a loss. With the high cost of food items and other ingredients amidst debt-ridden civil servants struggling with economic adversity, restaurant business is no longer lucrative, according to the operators. On a regular business day prior to the present challenges, these restaurants will have no empty seats, but their presence now means the purchasing power of many has gone down.
So sometimes you cook food and at the end of the day, your expectation is not really, and your target, you are not able to meet up because of the situation at hand.
The customers are not having the money to come and buy our products. And some
also they will come when they had the price of things, they will like they can't afford, they can only get the little they can't. It affects the business, it affects the sales of the days.
Fuel subsidy removal and the subsequent increase in the price of petrol further compounded the already difficult situation of the restaurants. Another scenario ruining the industry is inflation and unstable taxation occasioned by inconsistent policies by revenue-generating agencies.
We are surviving only by grace of God. So we are looking onto government to make a friendly environment and also let them look into the issue of the fuel and also cost of things in the market. The increase in the price of items in the market really is biting on us. So we are only pleading on behalf of the people of the Nigeria and of citizens that the government to look into it and look a modality on how to look for a solution to step down the price of some things in the market so that they can ease both the common man and also the business man.
In Katsina, operators are hopeful that one day restaurant business will go back to its glorious days. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Motorists and other road users are worried over the deplorable condition of Kaduna Western Bypass. The road had in recent time recorded frequent accidents that claimed many lives. The residents blame potholes on the road and drivers' attitudes as some of the factors responsible for the frequent accident on the road. Trust TV's Bello Musa reports.
Kaduna Western Bypass, also known as Nnamdi Azikiwe Express Road, is a link road between north and other parts of the country. The road is always busy with interstate commuters plying the road. However, the road is in deplorable condition now due to bad conditions of the road with many potholes. The road condition is worsening every day as motorists spend more time before they reach their destinations. The condition of the road affects our vehicles. Our tires are worn out easily due to potholes. The potholes not only delay vehicular movement on the road, but claim lives due to accidents on the road.
Na farko ina shago a zaune. Tifa kawai ya silalo ba burki ya kashe mutum daya nan 21 kilo.
I was in my shop here. A truck pulled down my shop and killed one person, and another truck fell on a car, but nobody was killed. Then next, reckless drivers avoiding the potholes killed an elderly man, and another truck also killed 6 people in a car along Kurmimashi. Commuters are appealing to government to hasten the reconstruction of the road. The road is bad, therefore we are appealing to government to hasten the construction of the road to avert losing lives on the road. We are calling on government, instead of commencing the construction along Command Junction, to please mobilize the contractor to this portion of the road due to its deplorable nature here. Earlier, the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Works, Mahmoud Mamman, while expecting pace of work, had assured of speedy completion of the project.
It is in the same vein that we also, go and look at the Kaduna Western Bypass that is being done by the Anchacha and Sawo. And we saw the situation how it is. And in fact, me and my team, we have already sat down, we talked, we strategized, and believe me, by the time we get to the office, we are going to adopt a different strategy, and God's willing, the project is also going to start at a very fast rate, now that we have seen, and with the strategy that we are going to do.
If completed, the Western Bypass will ease movement of people and goods as the road links Kaduna State to key northern states and other parts of the country. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
A leading non-interest bank in Nigeria, Jais Bank PLC, has presented the bank's annual report and accounts for the year 2022 with an increased dividends to its shareholders. The bank's board of directors at its annual general meeting in Kano approves establishment of additional branches across the country. Trust TV correspondent Idris Jibrin reports that the audited reports for 2022 has been accepted and approved by all shareholders.
These shareholders and investors of the Nigeria's leading Islamic bank are in Kano to review the financial statement of the bank as at 31st December 2022.
Directors' fees for the financial year ending December 31, 2023 be and is hereby fixed as 24 million per annum for the chairman and 20 million per annum for every other non-executive director. 10. To consider and, if thought fit, pass the following resolution as special resolution. A. That a further and general mandate be and is hereby given authorizing the company through its directors to allot without limitation 15,458,827,623 ordinary shares of 50 kobo each as new ordinary shares of 1 naira per share through private placement of 10,048,237,955 and rights issues of 5,410,589,668 respectively.
According to the bank chief executives, the financial statement for the year ended 31st December 2022 have shown a successful year for the bank in the operating environment with a record profit before tax of 6.6 billion naira, depicting an increase of 2.4 billion from 2021.
The profitability has grown up, the dividend, because any shareholder is always after the dividend, even though that is not the key thing, but the dividend has moved from 4 kobo to 5 kobo, which represent about 25% increase. So this is all a highlight. If you look at the profitability, if you look at the balance sheet, all the indices of the bank keeps growing. So we already have the approval of the board of directors to increase 13 branches in this year, which we hope by the grace of Allah to close with 60 branches. So you can see the coverage keeps going.
As rates and activities normalize after the global unrest in 2022, the financial year was heavily impacted by economic changes and government policies leading to a significant boost from the realization of income in financing and investing, which represent an increase from 2021 performance of the bank.
The major sources of our success is the customer focus, customer centricity, the innovation. We have new products, the SME, that is the medium, small and micro enterprises. We have new products. We have products for women development, and we also are investing a lot in the digitization and transformation of the bank.
For the year 2023, JAI's strategic mandate toward process and digital transformation is set to deliver product and services with swiftness that their customers demand. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
Now, on the foreign scene, Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday told African leaders he will give them tens of thousands of tons of grain despite Western sanctions, which he said made it harder for Moscow to export its grain and fertilizers. Speaking at a Russia-Africa summit in St. Petersburg, Putin said that Russia was ready to replace Ukrainian grain exports to Africa on both commercial and aid basis to fulfill what he said was Moscow's critical role in global food security. Last year, Russia exported 60 million tons of grain, of which 48 million was wheat. Many of the African countries Putin listed already enjoy close ties with Moscow. He, however, omitted others in need, such as Sudan and Chad. Zimbabwe's president said he was grateful, even though his country already had enough to ensure its own food security. China has braced for the imminent landfall of Typhoon Doksuri as its national observatory renewed its most severe weather alert after overnight heavy rainfall in the country's southwest. According to a state media report, 3 coastal cities in Fujian province shut schools, businesses and factories on Thursday, while flood control authorities in one of them, Xiamen, warned of a serious impact. In the Philippines, at least 8 people died as the typhoon savaged the region with strong winds and heavy rains. On Thursday, more than 20 people were confirmed dead in the country after a passenger boat capsized. Typhoon Doksuri battered the main island of Luzon on Wednesday. toppling trees, knocking out power, and forcing the evacuation of thousands of people from coastal communities. Strong winds and heavy rain pummeled and lightly populated Babuyan Islands and southern provinces, triggering flooding and landslides. The approaching typhoon is expected to make landfall on China's southeast coast in the early hours of Friday. We'll now take a look at sports update with Adeni Ajishafe.
Nigeria's Super Falcons on Thursday put themselves back on track in the 2023 Women's World Cup with a hard-fought 3-2 win over co-host Australia at Brisbane Stadium. The Falcons started on a shaky note at the bar before settling into the game in the quarter hour at the 52,500 capacity Brisbane Stadium. The Matildas got their breakthrough in the 46th minute through Emily Van Egmond, while Kathleen Ford plays a pass for Egmond, who slotted home into the net to beat goalkeeper Chiamaka Nnadozie. Uchenna Kanu left unmarked at the back post led to an easy finish in the 58th minute to equalize for the Falcons to end the first half 1 for either side. Australia continued the pressure on Nigeria at the restart, but there was no pressure on keeper Chiamaka Nnadozie against the rerun of play. Nigeria found the back of the net through the boot of Osinachi Ohale, who connected well with Rasheedat Ajibade's headed ball to give Nigeria the lead. Nigeria's third goal came as Asisat Oshoala capitalized on Mackenzie Arnold's failed attempt to clear the ball. The Barcelona forward scored despite the effort of Arnold and Alana Kennedy to clear the lines. Australia got back to the game as Kennedy leapt on the shoulders of her teammate Mackenzie Arnold as a boost for fantastic header to give her team a chance for a point at the death of the game. While Nigeria head on to the 1-goal advantage for their first win at 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup in a 3-2 scoreline. Nigeria need a point against the Republic of Ireland to book a place in the round of 16. Osinachi Ohale won the most valuable player of the match. That's Sport News. I'm Adeni Ajishafe.
And with that, we wrap up the news hour for tonight. But you can watch more via all our social media platforms and also on our YouTube live stream. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thanks for watching.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.